Now, the rest of the story.
Well, welcome back to the rest of the story. I've been busy. And, you know, I think everybody pretty well knows I've been taking time off from doing this. And I lost my little ball of fur over my microphone, so if the audio is a little off, I'll apologize right now. But we are finally really getting into tillage as of today. And for those of you keeping score, it is November 19th. Harvest has been done. I think I've already said that. And this is actually the first real chance we've had to get out and do anything. Dad has 70 acres of chiseling done at the home farm. I have 100 and, well, not just me, but as far as pulling this thing over, I got about 170 acres total that I have to pull this across. I'm not going to get done today. I'm currently sitting at 58 acres, running about 7 miles an hour, only averaging 0.7 of a gallon an acre. But I'm out here. This is some of my ground. There's corn stalks this year, as you can tell. We're getting through some of the areas that had some more wind damage. I was fortunate enough that even though, like on this piece, it did have wind damage, it did not require the corn rail. Really, really grateful for that. And overall, even though the corn didn't look that great, I mean, it didn't look that great going into the combine. It yielded. I mean, it wasn't a train wreck disaster by any means. And it is just a little soft yet, but it's actually working just fine. Or I don't want to say good enough, but it's doing the job that I want it to do. I'm not coming through with the chisel plow or anything else like that across this ground. This is going to be soybeans next year, and I'm just going through and getting it ready for beans. I had my dry fertilizer spread already 2 days ago is when they got across it, so I'm just kind of incorporating the fertilizer, working down all these stalks, any of the stalks that didn't get pulled through the corn head, and they really didn't get processed by the corn head. We have the 360-degree chain rolls on our head, and I don't think I'll ever want to run a different type of corn head roll ever again. We did run a chopping head last year. It's not the brand by any means, but just the product, a chopping corn head. Not impressed. The reason being is, I said it back when we were running it last year, it did leave a mat of material in the field. If you're set up to manage that properly, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but for me, I could definitely tell that there was a mat of the residue that had left behind it, because it was chopping up and making confetti behind it, and I could really do without that. I'll turn around here, and as far as going through disking this up right now, it is incorporating the residue a little bit. It's chopping up, grinding up, slicing up any of the stalks that didn't get pulled through the rolls, because those do a really nice job of grinding the stalk up. They cut it every 7 inches, so I mean, as long as it's going through the head, it's actually managing that residue really nice. I don't want a type of roll that is like the Calmer rolls. I'm not trying to call them out, but I don't want confetti behind the combine. It's a lot easier, a lot nicer going through following our corn head. It's just how I'm going to call it. This ground, anything that I have in corn fodder, I'm basically doing a 50-50 swap on my acres. If it was corn this year, it's beans next year. I don't have any continuous corn or continuous beans or a year over year. This is purely, it's just getting flip-flopped. So I like going through on my corn residue, just hitting it with this, getting it down into the ground, knocking all the stalks over. The rolling basket is almost a must for me anymore. But going through it knocks all the stalks over, churns up some dirt, kind of mixes it in with the leaves that are there and the stalks. And there is a little bit of blowing that I'm seeing, but not like I'm worried about seeing a huge wall cloud of corn residue heading for the neighbor's place. So it is keeping, with the dirt that is being incorporated with this machine, it is actually helping keep the residue in the field, while also helping with erosion, because I don't want these fields turned just completely black. I don't want all that soil exposed, because with the residue that is here, it is going to dampen the blow from any rain that we get or whatever else. It's hitting that residue first, and it's not hitting the soil and creating any erosion that way. So once we get done with this today, tomorrow, I do believe by now, I think Ryan is chiseling. We got about 300 acres that we have to chisel yet. And then the problem is they are calling for rain. I hope it's not a lot, that it shuts us down for very long. But the conditions that I'm running in right now are just about right. Run for the next couple days and get as much done as we can. As far as the chiseling goes, I do all my soybean stubble. People don't tend to like that. Not everybody, but some people get really bent out of shape when you chisel, you work up soybean stubble. One of the pieces of equipment on my long list of things I need to buy someday is an inline ripper. But it seems that we don't have a ripper. That's why we go through and we work up our soybean stubble with our chisel plow. I do drop it all the way down. I do try to work it as deep as I can. The reason I do that is because I like seeing the ground worked up that's going into corn. I've seen a yield bump from doing that. I lost the last time that I no-tilled into soybean stubble. I was forced into it largely because of the weather. Let's see, I'm trying to do too much at once. I lost at least 5, probably closer to, well, I lost 10 bushels to the acre, because the last time it was corn before that, it was over 10 bushels. So I really don't feel like soybeans need a lot of deep tillage. I just don't. What I'm doing right now is what I actually switched over to doing, and I gained 5 bushels to the acre just changing my tillage practices. So if I had an inline ripper, I would be dragging that across all of our soybean stubble with this. But the problem is that it is slower. It's not as wide as our chisel plow, and I don't know. It all comes down to how you manage everything. I want to get done with tillage. We are still ahead of last year by a considerable margin. I think, what was it, December, before I tried doing any tillage last year, and that was just a train wreck. When basically all winter, all we had was 40 acres of corn residue worked up, and that was it. No tillage whatsoever, or no chiseling whatsoever. So really starting to find out, granted, finding an operator to do it, or to help, can be kind of a challenge some days, but with Kuhn sending their mower conditioner, we had that plus our own to run this year, so we were running 2 mowers. That plus also having their chisel that we will be probably hooking up tomorrow, because I want to get done with this and get this back in the shed. Being able to cover more ground with running 2 separate machines. You can actually run the argument of running 1 bigger machine. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that at all, because I also agree. Bigger equipment is nicer, but where we currently stand, we only have 1 big tractor, and this tractor needs an eco-tune. 2750 or 2250, or I'm just gonna say $2,500. That gets you the device to hook up to your tractor, and then they'll give you the file to swap out with the file that is in the tractor. So if you need to or want to swap out your tune, your hotter tune, with your factory setup for your engine, you can. There's a pretty good argument for that if you want to run a little bit hotter for tillage, but if you want to drop down on how much horse your machine is putting out throughout the summer or winter, I mean, you can. At least through eco-tune, you don't have to have somebody come to the farm and do it for you. You can do it yourself. As far as doing an eco-tune on this tractor, I know 25 horse was easily a given. I've been doing a lot of research, what people generally turn their 8235s up to. 30 horsepower easily. Seeing a lot of people are actually recommending a minimum of 45 to 50 horse, because these are the lower or the smallest size tractor of the R series of that year. And the recommendation I actually followed was 40, 45, 50 horse. It'll put you up to about the same range as the next size tractor. I think it's an 8285. It's actually what I was originally looking at before I went with this. And a lot of it was because I was under time constraints, because I only had so much time to actually find a machine that I liked. And I actually, that 8285, it didn't have the front duals on it, but it had rear duals. Basically same hours and everything, just the next size up tractor. I called up on it to tell them that I wanted it, and it was sold already. And this was the next best thing. Do I like this tractor? No. I do like it. It's comfortable, and it's a tractor we need. We need to keep upgrading our equipment, and in the future years here, not the super distant time frame down the road here, we need to start getting some more equipment coming onto the operation. My problem I initially have with this tractor is it sits for extended periods of time. We only use it in the spring, we only use it in the fall, and we really only use it 4 to 6 weeks in the spring and 8 to 12 weeks in the winter, in the fall. And the problem is, it seems like it sits, things tend to stick between sensors, solenoids, different wiring issues that this thing has had, and that's kind of shied me away from wanting it, because you can make the argument with newer equipment, with electronics and stuff like that, you start to have problems there. I've seen it, we've had it, and it's actually why I'm talking about eco-tune. It's underpowered. I need something that I can put a 30-foot machine behind it and go with relative ease. And the thing that kind of burned me on this tractor, if I wasn't so young and stupid, I'll say it, my 20s were filled with poor decisions, not necessarily bad decisions, because, you know, we did need this machine. It's helped us out over the years tremendously. It's just that without my eyes wide shut, I guess you could say, I actually, for what I paid for this tractor, I could have gotten a four-wheel drive. I think it was like 300 some. What was it, a 370? I want to say it was an 350, 370 horsepower four-wheel drive for right around the same price. And I like my row crops, don't get me wrong. I don't want to not have a 8000 series around, but a four-wheel drive with the weight on it, with enough horse behind it, would be beneficial for us too. We don't have the acres for it. Our land base is gradually expanding, actually in a way that I'm comfortable with it. It's not like we're growing hundreds of acres at a crack. We're gradually picking up a farm here, a farm there. We picked up that farm for my brother this year. He's really happy with it. I'm still out. I got an ad out right now. I'm getting some people calling. Not so much people that are flat out looking to rent. It's people that are on the fence if they want to rent, because if they just want to get out of farming and just rent the works out or rent their places out. But I also have a couple that they want $350 or so an acre rent, and I'm not willing to pay top dollar rent. I got to be able to cash flow it. Like I said, I'm not in my 20s anymore. The young and dumb moves can't happen. I got a family to take care of, and got to avoid taking too many risks like that. So as far as equipment goes, we can talk about end of the year. Normally that's when you can buy stuff, but not going to happen for me for this year. For those of you that are new to the channel, they weren't big purchases, but that New Holland rake and that sprayer, I stuck quite a bit of money into that sprayer to get it up and going. It needed a fair amount of work to get it going, and I'm just now really starting to get around to selling my hay, which also burned me because I lost $10,000 in hay. It got rained on literally the day I was going to go down and make it. So definitely changing my strategy for next year a little bit. But that also turns right back into, this is the year of running doubles. We ran 2 disc binds, 2 balers, 2 chisel plows. I kind of like it because we have a 4640 that isn't exactly a huge tractor for pulling bigger tillage equipment. But running a second disc bind, a second disc isn't going to happen because we do have the restraints in planting and harvest season, where when it comes to planting, somebody's running the planter, somebody's running the disc, somebody's generally running seed. So all 3 of us are busy right there. When it comes to harvest, Ryan's in the semi, Dad and I are either in the cart or the combine, so our help is kind of burned up there. But then when it comes to like even chisel plowing or making hay, running 2 machines is awfully nice. I'm running I have 130 acres of hay myself. Dad and Ryan, their numbers are changing a little bit next year. We're tearing up a little bit of Dad's hay, but we're also seeding a little bit more down. So I'd say Dad's probably right around, let me think. I was going to say 40 acres, but he's actually probably closer to 60. Ryan has only 15 or 15, and he's actually thinking about buying hay, which, why don't I sell hay to my brother? Why, if I have to, I would. But at the same time, when you're dealing with family, Ryan actually hasn't shown any interest in buying any hay from me. He's actually thinking about, it's all goes into how you market, and I'd rather hold on to my hay. It's like selling your crop, your row crops, your corn and beans in October. Everybody knows that's when everybody has crops to sell, so generally the price is weaker. I don't want to sell my hay in the summer because supply is usually there. And where I'm at right now, I'm actually pretty content with what I'm getting for my hay. Granted, it's not like I'm selling it all because I got to start feeding my cows here before long. But the price I'm getting for my hay, it's not the lowest, it's not the highest, but it's right at average. And that's pretty much all I can ask for. And like I said, as long as I'm happy at the end of the day with that, I'm good. So between row crops, the row crops, between the hay, this is a wash. This isn't even, I'm pretty much doing this just for the fun of it right now. I just talked to my lender here the other day, and honestly, that's what I just told him. This is actually this fall is the most comfortable I've felt financially in the last few. So it's not like there's a lot of stress there either. Pretty much as far as, okay, long story short, I just want to get done with field work. I want to be done by Thanksgiving, which it'll be close. I don't think we'll be, it's, I don't know. Largely, if you're saying just field work as tillage and moving dirt, depending on the weather, we're going to have a pretty healthy share of it done. We have anhydrous that's going to be going on custom, so we won't be having to deal with that, but we have to have our tillage done before they show up. And then we're going to haul out our manure yet, which we can do that when it gets cold out. And I mean, as long as we're not causing a bunch of compaction on our tilled soil, which we're going to be picky as where we all go with it, but generally we're winding down on field work. I got to do a bunch of work with cows. Got to get the calves weaned off, the cows preg checked and called out so I can go buy some cows. I'm expecting to have to go buy some bred cows here. There's a sale I want to get to next month yet, and I'm planning on just getting to a set number and maintaining with my cows. I'm sitting at what, 19? Got 19 cows, 17 calves. I'm in the middle of the road if I'm going to keep all my heifers or if I'm going to sell all my steers and heifers and see what I get for a calf crop next year. I'm thinking the 20 to 30 cow range just for the room we have, and then just maintain, either call out the older cows, bring in younger heifers into the group, and just try to keep the herd young and maintain that way. And then sell the steers, get the loan that I have out for them paid off, and then that money is actually for, well, I'll be straightforward with you guys. The reason I got the cows, once I get them paid off, or I don't owe any money on them, or I don't owe anybody any money for those cows, I sell my calves every year, and that'll be set aside for an equipment purchase or an equipment payment. Because maybe that'd be interesting. All right, last subject before I really got to end this video. As far as tillage equipment goes, this thing's not going anywhere. I would like to actually, instead of a disc or looking for another disc, we'll be running this one for a while. And when it comes to a tillage equipment purchase, I would be looking at another chisel plow. So we'd have two, back into that whole theme. When it comes to like the planter, that's paid off. So I mean, I really don't have any desire maybe to update it, maybe put some tech on it, wear parts. As far as the cattle, a spreader, we need an updated spreader. The Kuhn Hydro Push spreaders, I don't know if we'll get one as big as the one we had, that orange one. I can't remember the number on it. That was awesome on multiple levels. Definitely, if I get a spreader, it's going to be a Hydro Push, unless I have to buy like a 195 New Holland, which they're pretty abundant. Web spreader for like underneath our barn cleaner and just doing like random small jobs, which the cattle are actually going to start increasing. We're actually going to be doing some work, did a bunch of work to a bunch of our cow lots. We have 3 separate farms that could be set up a lot better than what they are for cattle. The home farm, you guys saw that. We tore out the bunk and we're putting in the fences it needs. That farm is pretty much going to be set to go here, if we're going to get it all done yet this fall yet. But then that'll be ready for cattle. And then my place and Ryan's place needs pretty much a full makeover. Would I buy another disc vine? Absolutely. John Deere 956. What was that, a 13 or 14 foot? Larger disc vine. Keeping the one we have, running 2 disc vines. I like the idea of running a smaller one and a larger one. The smaller one for like down at the valley, down in the actual bottom. I'm really handy with that one. I don't want to get rid of that 735 we have of ours. I would actually consider, if it gets wore out, going and buying another, was an 835 even, with the 3-point mount, the integral hitch, not the drawbar hitch. I don't like the drawbar hitch. Another baler, actually probably just updating ours to either a 568 or a 569, just something that is built heavier, heavier chain, just heavier everything on it. Mega wide pickup, running the heavier teeth in it. The rakes, when it comes to the rakes, we still have the Rhino agreement going on. That wheel rake of theirs that we have from them was that 12 or a 14 wheel rake. It's a 28.5 foot rake when it's entirely widened out. To be honest with you, I'd have to really consider buying it. I really would have a hard time seeing that thing go away. That's pretty much sold me on it, especially with the fact that we're running the valley. Being able to rake nice, big, wide open fields like that in a hurry, I can't explain to you how nice it is actually having that wider rake. I would actually like to get another one that actually would fit better for the 4020. I was actually thinking getting a second rake that actually that folds up. I can't even think of well, if you guys watch OLF, like his rakes, something that, like a single acting hydraulic cylinder for behind the 4020. I have that New Holland bar rake, but it's not fast enough. And being able to run 2 rakes would be huge. I mean, we were trying to run 2 rakes this year. It's just a lot of equipment. Update the combine, another gravity wagon, another tractor, another 2 tractors, to be honest. Another high horsepower tractor, so we had something that could be doing tillage a little bit more easily while everything else is hooked up to harvest equipment. Another chore tractor. I keep saying a 7530, I'm gonna be honest with you, it probably won't happen. The reason I say a 7530 won't happen is because nice, low-houred machines that I've been finding are running about $110,000. I can go buy 2 similar size tractors to the 7600 as opposed to buying one machine like that. Logic has to kick in at some point. So I know I'm ranting and rambling. I'm kind of all over the board. That's what happens when I don't actually sit and try to talk to you guys for an extended amount of time. But the tillage videos are probably going to be here and gone fairly quick. And then we got some work we have to do in the shed on equipment. And then I will show the cattle when we are working the cattle. I know Myrna was wanting to see more of the cattle. It's just that, to be honest with you, I haven't been around the cows. I see them about once a week, and there's so much feed out at my place yet. They're in the field yet. I could probably leave them out in the field for another 2 to 4 weeks yet, and I'm not worried about feed at all. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to actually getting my cow herd up and running, because that opens the door to more equipment purchases. And then actually next year, between whatever I end up making on the hay and other money I got coming in, I'm actually looking forward to what we could be doing next year a little bit differently. So with that, my throat is starting to get dry, and don't tell Ryan, but I got a little bit of a stash going back here. Especially when you know you're going to be running a tractor for a while, you load it up with all your snacks and don't tell anybody else that they're there. All right, I need to get back to work and really start focusing on what I'm doing. I'll be done here in no time. I'll get this farm done. I'll actually be back to my place. I gotta get that actually worked up, so that's getting chiseled, but Dad can't drag our chisel plow through it the way it stands. The residue is just too tall, too heavy. Keeps plugging it up, and this would make his life a lot easier, unless I'm the running our chisel plow and Ryan ends up running that Land Saver on this. I really don't care which. I just want to see our work get done in a timely manner, be done with field work in a reasonable amount of time, which we are, and actually have a little bit more of a downtime in the winter, just to recharge. The last 3 or 4 years, you guys have heard me say it way too many times. It's just that it's pretty much been one thing after the other, and you don't really get a chance to get recharged after the last task you did, and then you're right into the next job. And I'm content with maybe taking a breather, spending some time with the wife and the kid, and just taking care of the cattle and get ready for spring next year. So you guys will more than likely, almost certainly, be along for a bunch of that. But like I told you in previous videos, it is this. It really just came down to, I just had to put the camera down and focus on more of the tasks that really needed my attention. So, for those of you that are still watching, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys next time.